Well, that's Christmas done and dusted for another year, and we managed to survive it pretty okay. I hope that you had a fantastic Christmas with your friends, your families, and your loved ones, and that we look forward, of course, to next year, 2024, when we're probably going to be in a completely different place. I have great feelings for next year, and I shall talk more about that, of course, as we go forward. It might be a bit bumpy. There are going to be things, but I think more people are going to awaken to the situation that the world is in and where we find ourselves. And so, may I say a big thank you to all the messages that have come in. Of course, I did take a couple of days off, and so people still email in even on Christmas Day. So I'm a bit behind on all your emails. I will try to read them, but I can't promise to I can't promise to reply to everyone. But I do appreciate it. And of course, to all those very kind people who've sent donations in to keep the channel going. Today, I wanted to talk about something a little different. I was scouring through the emails and I came across one which was very dear to my heart. And this is to do with the canals system, the canals and rivers, which are looked after, of course, by the Canal and River Trust. And I'm going to read you an email that's come in. And before we come to that, though, the canals and the rivers, of course, is home to a lot of people up and down this land. And it has a huge amount of historic heritage concerned to the way that industry was carried on because of these wonderful canal boats. And the reasons that canals even exist was to get hold of heavy goods like corn, coal and masonry and all sorts of agricultural stuff, even gold bullion, because it was so difficult to cart across the rutted roads in England and across the counties. The canals, being boats pulled by horses, made it so much easier to take freight of large domination and weight across, because one horse could carry several boats, not only a canal boat but tugboats. And so I have a sweet spot for this. And I don't know whether people believe in reincarnation or those sort of things. And I know that in and of myself, I have an affinity, a huge affinity for a number of these old traditional ways. The farming, of course. I feel very much that perhaps in a past life that I was there, one of these labourers working on the land. And indeed, perhaps a boater, one of these early canal people taking the boats up and down. I love water and I love the canals. Now I've been on the canals myself with the lovely Julia. I just wanted to show you if I can quickly find the little spots. Here we go. So I've made some videos on this channel and you can go back and check them. I'll put the links in the description should you wish to sort of have a little bit of historic vibes. So just have a look at this. Hopefully the audio won't deafen you. So this is Julia, there's the lovely Julia, in the pouring rain on our Kennet and Avon canal trip. And look at these beautiful boats, as you can see there, we're passing, and all these wonderful historic bridges. There's so much history that you can see from the slow pace, even in the rain, travelling along the canal boats. And we had a fantastic time. We've been on them several times now. We've been on narrow boats and we've been on the wider beam boats as well. In fact, a friend of ours very kindly lent us one. And it's a great way to slow down and enjoy life and escape the hurly-burly and all that kind of stuff. And there we are having a chat about our trip, which was really interesting and good fun. We only went for a week. Now, prior to that, I made a documentary about an abandoned canal, the Shrewsbury and Newport Canal, which you can still see in the landscape. It's been filled in. I forget now how long it was, quite some miles, and part of the branch goes into Telford, and this is where these incredible tugboats were, and they were guillotine locks. And I made a documentary about that. Here it is. It was called An Abandoned Canal, the Shrewsbury and Newport Canal. I'll just show you a little bit of the opening there. And I made this some 10 years ago, I think. It says 5 years on the video that I uploaded it, but that was a more recent upload. And I made it with the in association with the Shrewsbury and Newport Canal Trust. And there we go, some more beautiful views of typical canals going across different landscapes and these wonderful things. And of course, we have to remember it's now leisure, and there's me doing my little intro. It's now leisure, of course, but originally it would have been more industrial, and it was a very hard life. Let me just turn that off over here. So you can go and see that documentary about the history of canals and this particular canal, in which the trust is trying to put the canal back into water across different land that's all in private hands, a lot of it, and so it's sort of being negotiated. Can we put this back? So it's been a long process, and in fact I've been asked to go back and make an update video on the progress that they've had, so I'm very thrilled about that. Now, as I said at the beginning, a lot of people find that they want to get away from the rat race, and of course canals being a much slower 3 miles an hour on the canal, the locks and the swing bridges, it is an incredibly peaceful way of living. And some people live in marinas just on the water with local services, and of course some people work, so they may have a car nearby or a bicycle, but others are continually moving around the incredible canal network, which is quite extensive, mostly I suppose in the Midlands, but there are sort of outlying branches all over the place. And depending on the type of narrow boat that you have, if you've got something like a 45-footer, I think it is, that is your classic 7-foot across, you can go on all of the canals. But if you have some that are a bit too long or a bit too wide, then you are restricted to certain ones. And it's just a fantastic, and of course, it's a fantastic time. And a lot of people may be thinking of doing this as a canal holiday. They get the brochures in this time of year. You may be one of them. You may be looking at it going, that's marvellous. And of course, in my interest in the canals, of course, we've come to meet lots of canal boaters who live on them and they love them. And some have sold their houses, gone onto the canal, but sometimes it's not been for them, and they've given up. And of course, there are other people who live on the canals. They're a little bit, what shall I say? They're sort of reclusive, out of the system, off-grid, just on discrete areas of the banks and that sort of thing. So I want to read you this email that came in, because most of us who live in bricks and mortar houses perhaps don't think about the types of things that people who are living in alternative lives are also affected by the councils, by the government, by authority, and how we're all being penalised. And as you know, over the last 12 months or so, I've been highlighting some of the ways in which things have been anti-human. Things seem to be against one another. And of course, this coming year, 2024, which, as I say, may well be bumpy, more and more I want to not just find out what the solutions are, but start doing them or talking to the people who are actually doing them and present that to you. So let's have a look at this email that came in from a chap called Bernard. So he says here, Dear Richard, the Canal and River Trust have announced that from April 2024, boats without a home mooring, commonly known as continuous cruisers, will be charged a surcharge over and above the standard licence fee. This will be 5% extra in 2024, rising in 5% increments to 25% in 2028. The standard fee is rising above inflation for the next 5 years. He says, and many other boaters feel that this is discriminatory against a minority group, i.e., us liveaboard boaters who choose not or cannot afford a permanent mooring in a marina, and that can be quite pricey on the marina. We have to move every 14 days to comply with the terms of our license. We have to be seen to complete a navigation, so we cannot just go up and down the same few miles of a canal or a river. As such, we really are itinerant travellers. The Canal River Trust's reasoning for this is that continuous cruisers use more of the system's services, water and waste points. Well, this is not actually true. Other groups of boaters, boaters in shared ownership, hire boats, are two examples that use the system far more. This decision is discriminatory, let me just move that up a bit, and unfair on a minority group who are on the whole the least able to afford this increase. I've not been able to look up the current number of continuous cruisers currently licensed, but it would be in the order of several thousand. Regards from Bernard. Thank you very much, Bernard, for sending that in. And he did send me a picture. Hang on, I'm just trying to find where the picture is of his delightful boat. And I think I've inadvertent. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Have a look at this. So that's his boat. He lives aboard. He lives aboard it. And as he says, he has to keep going. And this is the reason that it touches my heart. This is that there's a lot of people who are affected by so many of these rules in the brick and mortar world, such as the council tax, and we've looked at that, and we will continue to look at that in the future. What is fair? What is unfair? What is just anti-human? And the whole business of how government is running. I'm very keen to try and get people to understand that the system is about face, that we, the people of this land, who have come up with a concept of having an administration like a government to help us out and have these representatives, which are called MPs, that we tell the representatives who tell the executive, the government, what we want. And as we've seen in recent times, this is the reverse way round. Now, on the canals, a lot of people have escaped to the canals because they don't have a lot of money. They put their savings into this. They want to slow down. They want to be in this country. They want to enjoy life. And why not? We all want to enjoy life. But it does seem here that the Canal and Rivers Trust are penalising one particular sector of them over and aboard the others. And you may say, oh, but, it's so idyllic living on board a boat. Well, it is, of course. It is a different type of lifestyle. However, I know what it is like. You don't have a lot of space. You do have a lot of maintenance to do. It is a lot of hard work travelling about. And if you are trying to have a living as well, obviously, if you've got to keep navigating and you've got to move every 14 days, wherever your workplace is, it's a nightmare to get to. So you may have to be self-employed. You are at the mercy of course, the weather, of where the shops are. So it's not an easy lifestyle. And you may think that it's better than being in a marina and things like that. But I think that anything that is unjust on all sorts of people should be looked at, examined, and at least start the conversation. I made a recent video about the council tax that somebody had sent me some information. It was backed up on another website. I'd seen a PDF of the actual trial information and then a shortened version, and I thought I would share that. Is it enforceable? And of course, we've had other people now talking about it. And the purpose I see of what I do is to elicit conversation, to talk about those issues of fairness and just, of freedom and truth, and just try and get people to be interested in certain things. And I think this is another one. It touches my heart. So I'd be interested to hear from many of the boaters if you think that you are being unjustly targeted, whether this is unaffordable, and what other people think about it. Having been on the canals myself, I know that it is, and it can be, depending on the canal, jolly hard work. We went on a stretch of the Kennet and Avon, not that stretch I showed you, but a higher stretch up near, where was it, Newbury. And there was about 40-something locks we went through in I think a 5-day period. So you're travelling for 10 minutes. You've either got a swing bridge or you've got a lock to go through. And if you're continually travelling, it is a lot of hard work. Other stretches are obviously a lot flatter, and of course you can then moor up pretty much where you like. But there are rules and regulations to adhere to. It is a completely different way of life. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments if this is something you would like to do, because also a lot of people would like to do it. But my observation was, of course, the rivers and the canals are now, of course, getting very clogged up with people who wish to run away from the towns and the cities, because the towns and the cities are becoming very, very awkward places to live because of the penal systems and legislation that is coming on stream. And we're all, at the end of the day, we all just want a nice, quiet, peaceful, respectful, humble life in which we can just get on and be left alone by authority, who seem to want to meddle in our affairs and push us in all sorts of directions, and at the moment charge us loads of money. So many of these outfits are corporations, dead entities, whose sole purpose, it seems to me, is not to benefit humanity, but to actually cause us harm. And I will continue to make people aware of these areas. So do get in touch. Love to hear from you. If you're planning on going on a holiday on a boat, what you think about it. If you are a boater and you're having to itinerantly move, as Bernard said, be interested to see what you think. And thank you very much for watching. Coming up towards the new year, it's going to be a fantastic new year. We're all going to be interested to see what happens, and I think there's something going to happen in early January. So as all the time that I'm able to report on it, I will. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.